annual Destin Jeopardy. So if you guys want to move forward, you can. Let's get a little bit quiet because some of these questions are a little lengthy, but we've got a good panel of contestants here today, and some of them are going to be familiar to you. But before we get started, I just wanted to recognize and thank, if everybody could join me in a round of applause for Waste Management. They volunteered to bring us all the cutlery and plates and trash cans and trash bags. All right, Destin Jeopardy is very similar to traditional Jeopardy. We're only going to have one round. There's no final Jeopardy. The points don't matter. The only thing that anybody gets is bragging rights. So, to meet our contestants, first up we have our current Mayor Gary Jarvis. If you guys want to give us a round of applause for Gary. In the second hot seat we have our current County Commissioner and former Destin Mayor, Mr. Mel Ponder. And rounding out the table is our former council member, Chatham Morgan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's best probably just to start and hop on in. We have Webb and Catherine down here as our timekeeper, scorekeeper, and will be the masters of our game board. And I believe seniority within how long you've been on the council will determine who gets to go first. So I believe that is Commissioner Ponder. You have command of the board, so we will introduce our categories and then you can pick. We have first category, Gulf Coast history. Second category, commercial and recreational fishing. Third category is hurricanes. Fourth is marine biology. And finally, we have Destin history. Mr. Ponder, the board is yours.
Destin history for 200.
Destin history for 200. The name of the mineral that makes up 90% of Destin's sugar white beaches.
It was the mayor. Is the
We
mayor.
have the current mayor.
Silicone.
Silicone is not correct.
Limestone.
Limestone, not correct. There is no penalty for guessing.
Quartz.
Well, you don't get a second bite of the apple, but nice try. Yeah, you can buzz in. Mel gets the points, 200 for quartz. Quartz is the main constituent and why we have sugar white sand beaches in Destin, Florida. All right, Mel, that means you still have command of the board. So let's go to the next one.
Destin history 400.
Destin history for 400. Before settling Destin's first fish camp in the 1840s, this was Leonard Destin's occupation. Mayor
Mayor.
Jarvis.
Commercial fisherman.
Commercial fishermen is correct. They were whalers from New London, Connecticut. All right, that means, Mayor, you have the board.
I'm not going to make it that easy. Let's do hurricanes for 400.
Hurricanes for 400. Answer, the name for a tropical cyclone in the Atlantic is a hurricane, but it is called this when formed in the Pacific. Chatham? That is a typhoon. That is correct. In the southern hemisphere, they are called typhoons, and they actually move in the opposite direction. All right, Mr. Morgan, you have command of the board.
Commercial fishing for 600.
Commercial fishing for 600. Not to be confused with a case of Budweiser. This is the common name for the U.S. Coast Guard's charter boat captain's license. Chad.
Six-pack.
Six-pack license is exactly right. Mr. Morgan, you have control of the board.
Gulf Coast history
I get it.
for 200.
Gulf Coast history for 200. Used for thousands of years by the Native Americans as a natural portage site, this crescent city was settled by the French in 1718.
Is the mayor.
New Orleans.
New Orleans is correct, the crescent city. All right, Mayor Jarvis, you have the board.
All right. Commercial and recreational fishing for 800, so I can bury these guys.
Okay. Commercial fishing for 800. This is the local federal board which creates fisheries regulations for the federal waters in the Gulf of Mexico. Mayor Jarvis.
It's a Gulf Council.
It is the Gulf Coast Reef Management, the Gulf of Mexico Regional Council. That is correct. All right, Mayor, you're up.
Let's go Gulf Coast history for 400.
Gulf Coast history for 400, settled in 1859. Excuse me, that's an error. 1559 by Tristan DeLuna. This city is the oldest European settlement in North America. I believe that was Mr. Ponder, right? That is correct. Pensacola. Pensacola, not St. Augustine. Pensacola was settled first. Unfortunately, it was hit by hurricanes several years afterwards. They abandoned it. In the intervening time, settled St. Augustine, but it is the oldest settlement in North America. Mr. Ponder, you have the board.
Gulf Coast history for 600.
Gulf Coast history for 600. The Union defeat at the Battle of Olustee made this capital city the only southern state capital not occupied during the American Civil War.
No.
Montgomery?
Montgomery, no sir. Chatham or Gary? No penalties for guessing. The only southern state capital not occupied by the Union during the Civil War.
Tallahassee.
Tallahassee is correct, actually. Out of all the cities in the states, that was the only one that was never occupied, prevented so by the Battle of Olustee in 1864. All right, you have command of the board.
Let's go hurricanes for 1,000.
Hurricanes for 1,000. The deadliest hurricane in the United States history hit this coastal Texas city in 1900. We have Mel Ponder coming in first.
Galveston.
Galveston is correct. The Galveston hurricane in 1900 was actually the deadliest, killing several thousand people in 1900. Mr. Ponder, you have the board.
Hurricane 600.
Hurricanes for 600. Home of the National Hurricane Tracking Center. It was directly hit by this hurricane in 1992, which until Katrina was the costliest hurricane in United States history. Chatham.
Miami.
That is correct, but what is the name of the hurricane? Hurricane Andrew is correct. Very good. Mr. Morgan, you have the board.
Marine biology for 600.
All right, marine biology for 600. Known for its beauty, this harmful invasive species colonized reefs offshore of Destin after escaping pet aquariums 20 years prior. All right, Mr. Morgan.
Lionfish.
Yes, invasive lionfish, beautiful, but very, very harmful to our local environment. It showed up off of Destin waters in 2011. Mr. Morgan, you have the board.
Destin history for 1,000.
Destin history for 1,000. The first year, the month-long October fishing rodeo was held. I'm going to need
Chatham.
Mr. Morgan. I think you hit the buzzer first.
I didn't mean to, but 1935.
1935 is incorrect.
1958.
1958, incorrect. That means, Mr. Ponder, you do get an opportunity to guess if you so choose without penalty.
1965.
No, actually, the very first year, Tina Harbach knows it. 1948 was the very first year. That's right, you had 58. That's right, that was very close. All right, since nobody got it, it actually goes to the previous person, so I believe Mr. Morgan had the board before, so you can go again.
Hurricanes for 800.
Hurricanes for 800s. The Coriolis effect causes tropical cyclones to swirl clockwise in the southern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. This early 19th century French military commander discovered the effect when his army's artillery became far more accurate by compensating for it. Mr. Morgan.
Napoleon.
Yes, that was Napoleon. His armies discovered that if they fired due to the curvature of the earth, their cannonballs would fall slightly to the right due to the Coriolis effect. All right, Mr. Morgan, you have the board.
Gulf Coast history for 800.
Gulf Coast history for 800. Before becoming our 7th president, this man was Florida's first territorial governor, being sworn in at Pensacola in 1821. Mr. Ponder.
Jackson.
Yes, that was our 7th president, Andrew Jackson. Also, why in the center of Pensacola, you have Jackson Square. All right, moving on, Mr. Ponder.
We'll go into Gulf Coast history for 1,000.
Gulf Coast history for 1,000. A founding member of the NAACP and leader of the American Civil Rights Movement, this Fort Walton Beach resident passed away in 2015. Mr. Morgan.
It was Julian Bond.
Yes, that would be Mr. Julian Bond. That is correct. A local hero of the Civil Rights Movement. All right, Mr. Morgan.
Hurricanes for 200.
Hurricanes 200. The center of a hurricane is named after which part of the human anatomy?
No.
Mr. Ponder.
Eye.
The eye. That is correct. That is correct. Mr. Ponder, you have the board.
Good gracious. All right, Jarvis. We'll We'll go commercial recreation.
Commercial fishing, regulations, 200.
200.
Scientifically classified as Lujanus capuchinus. This is the common name for the Gulf's most popular ruby red fish species. Mr. Morgan.
Red snapper.
That would be our favorite red snapper. Correct. Mr. Morgan, you now have control of the board.
Commercial fishing for 1,000.
Commercial fishing for 1,000. Begun in the late 19th century by Greek immigrants. The fishery for this porifera flourished in Apalachicola and Tarpon Springs until synthetics replaced them in the 1950s. I believe Mr. Jarvis was first?
Yes.
That is correct. The commercial sponge fishery became obsolete in the 50s, of course, because, well, artificial sponges came available and they were far cheaper. All right, you have control of the board.
I need to catch up. So let's do marine biology for 1,000.
Marine bio for 1,000. The name of the ear bone biologists used to determine the age of fish. Mayor Jarvis.
I hope I pronounce it right. The olive?
Correct. That is an otolith. That is correct. It's an ear bone that grows at a very specific pace, and when removed, biologists can estimate within a certain degree of accuracy the age of the fish. All right, well done. That was a very difficult question. You have command of the board.
Marine biology for 800.
Marine biology for 800. Answer known locally as headfish. This is one of 2 other names for this oddly shaped offshore fish known for basking on the surface for birds to land. I believe that was Mayor Jarvis? No, should Mr. Pond? Oh, Chatham. All right.
This is up next.
Mola, ocean sunfish.
That is correct. It is either the mola mola or the ocean sunfish. You got both. Although you don't get the other points, you definitely get some bragging there for getting the other 2 names. All right, Mr. Morgan.
Destin history for 600.
Destin history for 600. The name of the first postmaster in Destin. Mr. Jarvis. That would be Uncle Billy Marler. Correct. All right, you have command of the board. We're doing this at a good pace, guys.
Destin history for 800.
Destin history, 800. The first charter boat captain to serve as Destin Mayor. I'm going to need some help. Who actually was first on that one?
It was Ashley Jarvis.
All right, Mayor Jarvis, here's your opportunity.
May he rest in peace, Ken Beard.
Absolutely. If those of you who knew Ken Beard, you'll know that he passed recently. He was a well-beloved member of our council and mayor. And just to set aside for a moment, actually, could we give him a round of applause? Because I know he meant an awful lot to this city. And he will be really missed.
I was the second mayor who was official.
That is correct. All right, Captain Jarvis, you have the board.
I'm on a roll here. Let's go commercial fishing for 400.
All right, commercial fishing for 400. In the book of Matthew, Jesus calls out to his disciples that he will teach them to be fishers of this bipedal terrestrial mammal. All right, I believe this was Mr. Ponder.
No. It was Mayor Jarvis.
Mayor Jarvis.
Man.
That was right. Fishers of men. That is correct. Fishers of men in the book of Matthew. All right.
I beat you to it. I beat Pastor Ponder.
All right. Gary, you've got control of the board.
Let's do marine biology for 200.
Marine bio for 200. Not uncommon offshore Destin, this animal, despite its name, isn't a cetacean, but rather the world's largest fish species.
Chatham.
Whale shark.
Yes, that was Chatham, and it is a whale shark, not a cetacean, which is the entire whale family, including dolphins and porpoises. It's a big fish, and we see them occasionally offshore Destin. All right, I believe we have our last question. Chatham, marine biology for 400, guys. Let's do it. Filmed in Chatham Bay in 1977, this blockbuster
They
was a
did it at the
second
same
helping of
time.
sorts for this fictional man-eater. All right, guys, I didn't see which one. There was a lot of hands.
They hit it at the same time.
Which ones?
These 2.
Chatham and the mayor.
Ooh, Chatham and the mayor.
Wrestle for it.
All right.
Arm wrestle or wrestle?
Arm wrestle, I don't know. This is a hard one. We'll have to pick Chatham. You're just going to get the first opportunity.
I think he beat me at the buzzer. Because I heard his buzzer before mine.
Fair enough. Chatham, what do you think the right answer is?
Jaws 2.
That would be Jaws 2. For the older folks in the room, you will remember they came to Chattahoochee Bay and filmed that in 1977. Guys, We have a current score. Mayor Jarvis, 5,400.
This one on
Chatham Morgan, 5,600. Commissioner Ponder, 2,600.
Actually, the mayor has 400 on that count.
We missed one score and the mayor got 400 votes.
So I believe that means, because we have one missing, the actual final score is 5,800 Mayor Jarvis, Chatham Morgan 5,600. So everyone, join me in a round of applause. Mayor Jarvis pulling out the win at the end. Guys, we had an awful lot of fun. Thank you for coming. I know that everyone that worked really hard in the city of Destin put in lots and lots of effort to put this all together. Thank you for coming. We really had a good time. I'd love to do it again next year. Thank you, guys.